Prasa completed its final trial run on the Pienaarspruit to Pretoria line today. The entity says it's ready to resume operations tomorrow. The line spans 53 kilometers and has 16 stations. It's been under reconstruction since the beginning of the year. Andiswa Makanda, Prasa spokesperson, joins us now for more on this. Thank you so much for joining us, Andiswa. Of course, this is work that's been done throughout the year, and finally, commuters can now rely on this line again, if I'm right.
No, definitely. It's been a long journey to recovering the services in Gauteng. And so it is good news for our commuters in the Pretoria area that we are resuming the Pretoria to Pienaarspruit line tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the morning. The first train will be leaving the Pienaarspruit going to Pretoria and Pretoria going to Pienaarspruit tomorrow morning. So it's been a long journey. Finally, we are recovering that line.
Now, let's talk about some of the other lines you have been doing some work on as well. The Lerala to Johannesburg corridor and the Kliptown in Soweto one as well. But then there was also work being done on Naledi to Johannesburg. How's progress going there?
We are making a lot of progress, Baron, since we closed some of those lines in May this year. We are making progress in recovering the Lerala to Johannesburg section. We're also making progress in recovering the Naledi line. And we are looking at, by end of October, we should have some of these lines operating in Gauteng. And it will bring us also closer to just about 50% of recovering the corridors that were vandalized during the lockdown period. So we are making progress. We are pretty excited that work is underway following the devastation that happened on our rail infrastructure.
Let's talk about some of that, devastation that you just mentioned. Of course, copper is a huge part of, the vandalism and, the theft of copper as well. It's 2.7 billion rand reconstruction and recovery that Prasa has embarked upon, and the agency reduced the amount of copper by 70%, and they're using aluminium now. Do you maybe see in the future that there will be less vandalism, less theft because of this?
We've had to look at alternative technology to reduce the theft and vandalism of our infrastructure. What we are trying to do is to set deterrents and making our infrastructure less attractive to theft and vandalism. And so part of the thinking was that we put in a lot of technology around this. For example, on our rail tracks, we've had 100 kilometers of rail track that was stolen. So what we have done now is to put anti-vandalism clips, anti-theft clips that should mitigate the risk, to make it more difficult to just remove the railway tracks from the ground. We are also reducing the copper content in the rail infrastructure, in the overhead traction equipment, so that it is less attractive for criminals to come and steal or vandalize our rail infrastructure.
And just back on, the Lerala, especially to Johannesburg, Naledi to Joburg lines, when can we expect those lines to reopen again?
So we've said, because we've got a 10 priority corridor approach, so what we're doing now is that we're aiming to make sure that by the end of the year, all the 10 corridors that we've identified for recovery this year, they're up and running by end of this year. So we're giving ourselves to have Naledi and the Lerala lines to be back in operation by end of October, hoping that there won't be any disruptions of the recovery work between now and the end of October.